to another episode of Nightmare Road. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Decon TSS, and I'm here with my co-host, Laura Slasher.
What's TSS?
The slut shamer.
I mean, that's fair.
That was my childhood nickname.
Oh, all the way to adulthood.
Yeah, I had that in the playground. They're like, "Oh, look, everybody!" For the longest time, I didn't even know that my name was Decon. I thought that my name was, "Oh fuck, look, it's him." That's what I thought my name was, because that's what everybody would say when they would see me. "Oh fuck, look, it's him, Decon, the slut shamer."
Okay.
So. Anyway, so today's episode is gonna be so last week we did the Chris Benoit, right?
Mhm.
The what the media put out there, what we know about what was going on, kind of, because we kind of went off the rails because there's just so much.
Yeah.
So for the last 10 minutes of the show, you got to hear about the case of Benoit.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where you see it and then you're like, there's conspiracies attached to it, and you're like, this is stupid. Why would there be conspiracies attached to it? Until you look into it, then you kind of begin to realize, because a lot of people don't look into the crime itself. They just take everything at face value, right? Or like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, this is what happened, this is what happened. But when you begin to look into it, it's just like, you're like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Like, why did they say this, why did they say that? But you have to look into it, right?
Mhm.
Because on its face, it looks like it was just a crime.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, but then when you look into it, there's a lot of weird things that
Mhm.
go into it. So where would you want to start?
Wherever. Fine with me.
Wherever?
Yeah. I think you know more of the people that are, behind, not behind
Yeah.
it, obviously.
Well,
but
yeah, I know who did it,
behind,
bro.
like,
I know who did it, bro.
all those people.
Do you have any clips?
Of what?
For example, there was a guy who, damn it, his name is escaping me right now. But he was an old wrestler, he was an old man, and
Mhm.
he went to do an interview, and then he started releasing videos about the Benoit case. And he told this story that was so out there where you're like, what? Do you know what I'm talking about? In 2024, ended up killing his wife, and then
Oh, that guy. No, that one I do not have. I think I left that one in my phone.
okay, so he said in the interview, okay, yeah, people are saying like, this dude's losing his mind, this is doing this, like, that was crazy. So his account was that Benoit and Nancy were having a lot of issues, right? People think that, like, oh, he just snapped and he killed his wife, they were so happy together, but that wasn't the case.
No.
Everybody that was a close family member. So he said, so people that know them, right, they're like, oh yeah, like, there's all this, they had all these issues, there was a lot of screaming, there were restraining orders being put in place.
Mhm.
And this guy talked about how he saw them, I guess. Like, I don't know, he didn't specify where he saw them. It could have been the parking lot, could have been, but he says they were screaming at each other. And Chris Benoit was going off the rails because Nancy told him, and I quote, and I quote, I'm gonna do it like Dan Carlin. Quote, I have been fucking Vince McMahon for years, and Daniel isn't yours. End quote. So anyway, this guy was saying that, that's what she said, that, like, she was sleeping with Vince McMahon, and that the kid isn't his. And he started screaming, like, what are you talking about? Like, top of his lungs.
Mhm.
And then he said it himself. He's like, the concept is ridiculous, he says, because the kid looks just like him. But he says the possibility of her sleeping with Vince McMahon, that's possible, because
Mhm.
that's one thing that he did. He just banged everybody.
Yeah.
So they say, like, if he committed a crime, it was probably because of that. That there was a lot of stuff behind closed doors. But he did say that that Chris was not like physically violent like that. That he was a guy that would, punch a hole in the wall and then literally run away, like literally run, So that's what he said about Chris. And then he said, Vince McMahon, he says, basically, you murdered this family. He says, because you're a piece of shit. All kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
Old man shit. And then in 2024, he was accused of murdering his wife. And he was, and people were saying that he was screaming, like, I didn't do this. Like, I really didn't do this, and he's losing his mind. Then he got put in, like, he's awaiting trial. Isn't that insane?
That's crazy. Like, who's doing all this?
Yeah, like imagine there's just like some like, and I'm gonna, damn, I don't even know if I should say this.
You'd say it and then maybe
Okay.
I'll edit it out.
So I imagined this story where Chris Benoit, and he's with his family and he's like, he's missing a tooth, and then he's like, can you pass me the peas? And then she's like passing the peas, and then like Kevin Sullivan kicks in the door with Triple H, and Jim Ross and the King, they're like in the corner, like, what's this destroying their family dinner? Somebody should stop this. I hope The Rock comes down that door and then stops them, and they're like, I can't believe they're gonna think he did it.
Yeah, I mean, he did say there was like a weird interview that that guy did. I didn't get obviously like the whole interview or anything. It's just like somebody clipped it and started uploading it, where he says that they got away with murder too.
Huh. Who said this? Is this
Kevin Sullivan?
Kevin Sullivan. You know what's nuts about Kevin Sullivan is the fact that for years he was sending like threatening letters and he was telling people like, I'm gonna kill them both. I'm gonna kill, and then when they die, he ended up like coming out saying, I had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, look, I have listen.
Lie over and over again. It's the truth.
Yeah. It's well, I mean, you guys got away with a lot though. Like
we got away with murder too. And the other thing is,
so people are like, two? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, you know what's crazy is Kevin Sullivan looks like a bus driver. He doesn't even look like a wrestler. He just looks like the city bus driver that hates his job.
Is he like small?
Yeah, he's a short guy. I wonder how tall he is. Okay, let's see. Kevin Sullivan height is gonna show a picture of me. Like, oh, he's 5'6". He's 5'9".
5'9".
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, this was a guy that ran a WCW like fake cult. They say fake, but people said that he lived his gimmick. Like sometimes he would wear robes. Sometimes he was being followed by like hooded men whenever when he would go to these places because he was like a demonic, entity. Supposedly, like he was possessed and he had like his eyes like rolled back, and all kind of shit. So, and then he would like talk. So people were saying that if Chris Benoit was murdered, that he probably had his followers do it because he had followers. As weird as that sounds, he had like these little group of people. Yeah. So they say that they probably did it and under his command. So Kevin Sullivan, that's one of the first people that everybody's like, fucking he's been talking about it for years. And then now they're dead, just like he said he was gonna kill them. Like he said he was gonna strangle Nancy. Like, isn't that nuts?
She was just like, so the police came up with this whole like story when they kind of were like looking through everything or whatever. They kind of came up with this whole like they were having a barbecue on Friday night, and like towards I guess the end of the night they started fighting, like him and his wife. He ended up killing her, and then he gave like a really big dose of Xanax to the kid, and ended up like strangling him, I guess smothering him. But that wouldn't, it wouldn't have left like the foam and stuff on his face if it was like a
smother.
Yeah. So they said there were injuries to his throat, but only internal. So there was no bruising or anything. It was only internal injuries.
Which could happen if, somebody puts something to not damage the skin. So, like for example, a towel.
A towel.
And a towel is used, and normally it's not a cord because sometimes you can overdo it with a.
Yeah.
See now here, so some people use a towel and they use a belt because the belt is wide enough, you know, that it doesn't put a lot of pressure on one small
Like on one
area.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, the next thing that's weird about this case was the locations. So when you look at the police report, they're like, we found Nancy here, we found the boy this way, we found Chris Benoit this way. You know, what's weird is that the locations that they gave for Nancy were different locations depending on the officer that told the story. You know, and then that was really weird because you can't mistake an office for a place above the garage. You can't you're like, what?
So,
You mean the living room is not located in a small office on top of the garage?
Yeah, so early in the incident report, they said she was found in the bedroom, and then like a page later, she was found in like an in-home office above the garage, like where she would watch TV. That's where they found her.
And then the official report says that she was found in the living room, right?
That she was found. I think she was found in that like thing. They just didn't call it an office. They called it like some other like little room, like an extra, like a spare room or something like that. Just because like there was a TV and a couch, and they found her like on the. It's weird. They called it so many different things. Yeah.
So what is up with that? Like, it's so weird because as a police officer, that's when you lose your job, right? Like if you can't identify like where you found the body, and they're like, oh, I found it here. You know, like how do you have conflicting stories? Like what happened? You know,
did anybody move her?
That's the question. The question
she was covered
is
with a blanket when they found her.
The question was she moved? Because one of the first things that they talked about was that, you know, some police officers, when they were reporting, it says so and so came in, and the cops just started searching through shit like without, you know, and they're contaminating the area. Like, what are you doing? You know, one of the cops talked about how they were like looking through like family pictures, like on the thing. They were kind of like grabbing them and looking at them, and it's like you're leaving your fingerprints and everything, you know.
And then before all this, they told that lady to go inside and kennel the dogs, and she started walking through the house.
Yeah, that was weird. That's a thing is where, okay, so when you're, you know, a law enforcement officer, and there's a dog, or there's a dog, a couple dogs, and they're very aggressive, and you don't want to engage them. There's actually like something that you give to the dogs. It's like a dog treat, you know, but it has something that's very close to what is the thing that help people fall asleep. It's a medicine that, you know, when you have an allergy or something, it also Benadryl. So Benadryl, but to a dog, a small dose of Benadryl is enough to knock them out like instantly.
Yeah, I used to have to do that to my dog because he was scared of like fireworks and stuff. So like during the fireworks, they advise you to give like a very small. Like he was only like 7 pounds, so it was very little, but it would knock him out.
So you just show him a picture of Benadryl like that, and the dog would look at it and he just like fall over. You go, and they'd fall over.
Yeah, it was it. That's all I had to do.
Like, look, what's your dog's name?
Oliver.
Like, look, Oliver, it's Sudafed, whatever the fuck. It's it's Benadryl, sir. Anyway, so it's like a treat. You give that to dogs, you throw it in there, you know, they eat it, and then they fall over, they fall asleep. You don't sit. What you don't do is you don't tell a neighbor like, hey, you might want to get in there, because number one, if the dog is aggressive, now you're risking a lawsuit if this person gets bit or injured, or even if the dog's friendly, right? The dog knocks her over and she gets injured, that's a lawsuit for the police department. You know, because number two, if you're doing a wellness check and you have no idea if somebody is alive or not, you don't send in somebody to an environment where there could potentially be, you know, not just a body, not just this, but also the person that did it could still be in the house.
Yeah.
So the fact that they did that was very, very strange. You know, it's just so weird. And then she wandered around the house, you know.
So she was looking for the little boy and the lady.
And then she was screaming, and then she found it, she found them, and then she was running out like, I found them, and then the cops were like, going, like, that's such a huge red flag. Like, oh man, it's so weird because this is almost like you ever watch those employee videos where it's like, this is what you don't do, it's like, hey, good morning, Janice, whoa, when you do something stupid, it's just like a perfect version of the police academy, like, this is what you don't do. You don't send in the neighbor to go investigate, so that was bizarre.
I guess because they thought she was gonna listen, because they told her just kennel the dogs and come out, but she trampled through the house.
But go in there. We told her, put your fingerprints on things.
Yeah, just touch everything.
Yeah, touch everything. So that was weird. And to me, like, when I first heard that, I was like, what the fuck? But also when the text messages that Chris Benoit sent out, that was bizarre, and it was talking about his dogs. So
he sent out, I think he sent to 2 people that the dogs were like in the backyard, like pool area or something, and that the side door, some door was going to be open, and he sent him like their address, like his physical address,
which was weird because Chavo Guerrero knew exactly where he lived. He's like, why are you sending me your address?
Yeah, so he sent it, and he sent it from his phone and from Nancy's phone.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Like, that to me is, that's weird. Like, why would he do that?
Yeah.
Also, so the whole Chavo Guerrero. So he gave an interview. So if you guys don't know, Chavo Guerrero is Eddie Guerrero's nephew, right? So, Chris Benoit loved Eddie Guerrero. They were best friends. They had those pictures. They're very interesting.
I can edit it in after.
So so those are very interesting pictures.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, if
you're talking about the ones you sent me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like those are the kind of pictures that you take when you tell your friend, like, come on, man, just come over, we'll hang out, we're gonna have so much fun. The neighbors is gonna think it's weird.
Yeah, because because I mean, it's a little weird.
Yeah,
they're a little weird.
The pictures are a little weird. So they might as well be like wearing matching Christmas sweaters, and are holding each other, both going like this.
Yeah.
Like, face, like smushing their face, like, on a shoulder, like in their underwear, like. I mean, but anyway, so he knew that he, where he lived, because he's been there plenty of times, and he sends up his address, and he gave a really interesting interview in a wrestling magazine, like the WWE magazine. He gave an interview, and he talked about that. And he also gave like a small interview about, what happened that night, and Chris Benoit, and how, his relationship with him, and then what happened that night with he sent me a text, he did this, all this kind of shit. And then it was up for like a couple of days, and then it was scrubbed off the internet. Like they released a magazine. So for those of you that have that magazine and their interviews in there, you guys may be sitting on a lot of money, because they immediately discontinued that magazine. Like, to stop this issue, we got to stop, and they were trying to recall them, like, bring those magazines back and we'll reimburse you, or we'll give you another one. Almost like they wanted to destroy it, which makes no, like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
So Chavo gave that story, and and then there was Bob Holly, who was, not Holly the neighbor, Bob Holly, the wrestler. You guys may know him as Hardcore Holly. Hardcore Holly was a guy who, he wasn't necessarily friends with Chris Benoit, but his wife was really good friends with Chris Benoit's ex-wife. So he always talked about how weird the situation was, and how, they would still sometimes hang out, like, as like Chris Benoit and the kids, and because they were like, it was bizarre, right? Yeah. So he talked about the last time that he hung out with Chris Benoit. He said that Benoit seemed very paranoid, like they were in the car, and they were driving, and he kept constantly checking his rearview mirror, you know, and he was like, that car's been following us for a long time, so I'm gonna take the classic, you know, 3 right turns, 1 left turn, you know, to see if somebody's following you. And they did that, and I guess the car was still behind him. Then finally, they like managed to get like side to side with his vehicle, and kind of like looked over, and then the car just like immediately just like pulled in aggressively, like into a and he said like, yeah, that's weird, but he thought that that's probably just a fan, you know, just like a crazy fan recognized us. We'll be honest here, recognized Chris Benoit, not Hardcore Holly. I'm kidding. Hardcore Holly was pretty good. So he had so it was Hardcore Holly, Crash Holly, and Molly Holly, and they were supposed to be like a small family, and they're all like were blonde. It was pretty good. Molly Holly had one of the coolest names for her signature move. It was called the Molly Go Round. You know, it's like a head scissors type of thing. Anyway, so so that's what he said, and this story was also corroborated by other people that hung out with Chris Benoit, like right before his passing or his murder, that he was very paranoid, and he was always worried about where his son was. He's like, I gotta make sure that he is where he's supposed to be, you know. And he would call, and he's like, okay. And they would go, and then like an hour would pass, and he's like, I gotta make a phone call, and I gotta make sure. And they're like, what is that? And they thought maybe he's paranoid because he's taking too much of the old Mexican supplements. You know, like maybe he's paranoid because of this. Maybe he's on coke, because he became extremely paranoid. Like he would stand there, and he's like, hey, let's not sit outside because that car is driven past already. So they're like, what's going on? You know, so he started behaving very paranoid, very erratic, and he was always concerned about his son, like something like, where's my son, what's happening, you know, and all that kind of. He didn't give a fuck about his wife. I'm kidding. I don't They never said that he mentioned her, like, where is she at? It's always like his son, like, where's my son? So later, some of the people that were close, like family members, not like, you know, kids, but like cousins or whatever the hell they were saying that they began to realize that he probably owed money to people that he shouldn't. There was wrestlers that were talking about how, you know, he was on the juice, you know, but it wasn't American juice. It was Mexican supplements. And these supplements were obtained illegally, and the people that they were supplying them from were some pretty bad people, you know. So they became like nervous, like, where are you getting this stuff from? And I guess that he would tell them like, oh, I got a seller, and he's from here, he's from that. Like, yeah, I want nothing to do with that. You know. And then what the fuck's this guy's name? You guys can look him up. I saw an interview where this person was talking about how he actually said, like, you don't have to pay them now, they'll just run you a tab. And he's like, I do not want to owe these people money. You know? And he's like, no, it's fine. And, you know, and you see what happened. So a lot of people actually, they attribute what happened to him to this possibility. Do you have that clip of that journalist? One that was on Talk is Jericho. For those of you also that want to check out a cool podcast, Talk is Jericho is a really good one. He's got the best intro too. He says, Talk is Jericho, baby. Talk is Jericho, mama. Talk is... You know.
I have this one.
Somehow Chris got in some sort of trouble. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was after or whatever, but I think something happened. I think when he got home, Nancy and his son were already dead. And I understand that husbands and wives kill each other sometimes. They do. But not the boy. This is what didn't make sense to me. To me, if a hit...
So Bill Apter is not just a pro wrestling journalist, but he also covered murders, like true crime stuff. Like he wrote papers for like certain true crime, you know, shows and all that kind of stuff. So he's not just like, what does this guy know? He's like, yeah, The Undertaker. He tried to commit a murder by crucifying Stephanie McMahon. Thank the Lord that Stone Cold Steve Austin came in there and rescued her. Otherwise, we would have had a murder on our hands. No, he's a legitimate journalist. He's not just like a wrestling one.
Just like a random.
Yeah.
Murder is done in a professional way, they can make it look like you did it and you committed suicide as well. To this day, the Chris Benoit I know couldn't have done that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So going back to what he said, really quick, when he says they'll make it look like you did it, did it shock you that the crime scene looked like someone went through and cleaned it up?
So they took pictures, I think, before, like with the blood that they found, which there's kind of like mixed, people are saying there was no blood there, but, in the police report, there was blood there. The only ones that were released were after there was cleanup.
That's insane. Like normally
Mhm.
they don't do that. Normally they take a picture, and then if there's blood, they'll actually put it in black and white. So if it's
They
gonna,
they usually release everything. I mean, like now they release everything, and it's just they didn't. Nobody has any pictures of like any bodies laying anywhere, which like you don't want to really like look at that, right? But yeah, I mean, they're nowhere.
they put
People
dummies instead,
say,
right?
yeah, they put some dummies there. People say that either the police destroyed them or that Vince McMahon paid a bunch of money to keep them hidden.
You know what's creepy is that people look at that and they're like, Vince McMahon, like with a crime scene, like that's a little far fetched. But there's been, evidence, and there's been witnesses that talked about the power of, wrestling. Fucking Grizzly Smith, like going into a place because he's beloved into like a police station and being like, hey, release this guy, I'll sign your autograph. All right, well, you're free to go. Like, this guy, like, hit somebody with a fucking tennis racket, or this guy, punched an audience member, and this person's gonna sue. Like, nah, just I'll give you another. Like, all right, well, let him go.
Yeah.
And there's no problem, or overlooking his pedophilic tendencies. Overlooked it. What are you, with a
Yeah.
bunch of girls? Yeah, it's fine. It's Grizzly
No
Smith,
big
everybody.
deal.
So for now, Grizzly Smith was considered a thousandaire. Now imagine a billionaire. You know what he could do.
Yeah. What he can do.
Yeah, what he could. I mean, shit. Look at what happened with Jimmy Snuka. Like, he knew Jimmy Snuka murdered that girl, and paid the cops to like, well, he's got an event coming up. He's got a WrestleMania. It's gonna be great. Here's some tickets. They're like, okay, and then how many years later? This happened like 1985 or something like that, and he was like apprehended in 2014.
Yeah, it was a long time.
It's like,
Very long time.
Right when he was old. So like when people say like, don't you think it's ridiculous? I'm like, no. Like, wrestling could be a performance, but the money is very, very real. So yeah, that whole thing. And also a couple things that were weird was the conflicting stories of how did you find Chris Benoit, and a couple of cops were like, he was hanging, right?
Yeah.
So like he was hanging, he was hanging. Somebody else said like, well, no, he was on the floor slumped against the machine. Some of them said he was like sitting down, and he was like, and they're like, did any of you did you guys go in there at the same time? Like, what happened?
Yeah, like did they move him and then another person went in?
Yeah, like what happened?
There's also one of the things, I guess, that I found weird when I was looking through the incident report, and also like listening to people that I guess like were, I don't know, looking into it also. They're like, oh, there was, a bunch of beer cans and like all this stuff like found around him, like he was drunk or whatever. There was a bottle of wine, but I looked through his autopsy and there was no alcohol in his system.
Yeah, there was.
So like, I don't. Was he not drinking? Like, where would all the the cans come from?
Yeah. Also, I don't think he drank.
She did have alcohol in her system.
Well, she did, but fuck, like 10 beers and half a bottle of wine, and then corked it, and then like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it was just so weird. So, like around this, and then there was, a bench that was positioned to where almost like somebody was like watching. And that was weird. The towel around the neck, and then the cord around the neck to like not leave any marks. Like, that's bizarre. Yeah. Like, it was but that's also it's also a method of torture with a garrote. Like with a garrote, you put a towel And then a garrote is a 2-point system. You have a cord, and then you have something that functions as a lever. You turn it. It could be a rope with just a stick, like a tourniquet, right? You turn it, and then you turn it. And what you don't want is you don't want to actually burst any blood vessels, because that means that the person could actually die.
Yeah.
So what you do is you put a buffer, usually a piece of cardboard or a towel. And that way you can do that to somebody over and over and not worry that you're going to give this person internal bleeding, you know?
And it wasn't just like it was a little like hand towel. Like it was a bigger towel, and it was cut.
Yeah.
Like that piece was cut off of a bigger towel, and it was wrapped around his neck twice.
Yeah, which is fucking weird.
Yeah, like it wasn't just placed there. Like it was intentionally, you know, like wrapped around.
Yeah.
And then obviously the cord.
Yeah, then the cord. What's also bizarre is that what was found in his system, and I know some people are like, well, you know, this is what he took, but he took two things at once. That he took two things at once that would, I don't know, but the argument could be that, I mean, you made that argument. You're like, well, he was used to it, probably. He had such a tolerance. But still, even when you have a tolerance or something, like, it may not make you black out, but it could make you like lose a little bit of coordination, you know? So you mean to tell me that a person with two types of downers in his system is going to go and then place a towel, you know, around his neck, going to do this and it's going to do that, you know?
Depends how long it took in between taking them and doing that to himself.
Was it already processed through, like, where'd they find it? Like in his liver?
Their immediate release.
Oh, that's right. See, so that's the thing, is if they're immediate release, how long do you think that takes you? Like 2 minutes?
Well, so for those, the ones that he took, once they like hit, you know, like any like liquid or whatever, they hit your stomach, they start to dissolve because they're, you know, immediate release.
Yeah.
And I think it said like its peak is like 1 or 2 hours, and then it kind of starts to like wear down after that.
So if it was if it was instant release, and then he had the coordination to do that, and then to type, because also the system, it wasn't just like I'm just gonna place this here and put her over it was like a pretty intricate system, right?
Yeah. He put the weights in between. He put like, I think they were 100-pound dumbbells or 50-pound dumbbells.
I think they were 100.
And he put them in between like the wires of the weights, like on the machine. And then there was like a cord, and he put like a carabiner and like a ball and like all this stuff to like not slip through, you know, like the wire for the wire to not slip back. And then he was also holding dumbbells while like hanging to like put more pressure, you know.
It's so weird. Like,
so it could have been, you know, that he took all these pills or whatever and then, you know, waited. It could have been another 2-3 hours until he.
Yeah, but by that time it would have been like mostly filtered. Like they would have found most of it in his liver, you know, not like.
Well, they didn't find anything because they disintegrate, and they didn't find him till, you know.
No, but I mean the liver would have absorbed.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that they found it, like, in his bloodstream, basically, it means that it's still, like, coursing through him.
Yeah.
So then to do all those things under that, and that's a lot of weight. I don't give a shit how strong you are. That's a lot of weight and coordinate. It's just so weird.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing. For the longest time, I thought that what he did was, here's a weight system. I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to put the rope or whatever, like, over, and then I'm just going to put it around my neck, and then I'm going to hang. Not this whole, like, okay, going to put the weights here, and I got to make sure this pinches here, and I don't want this to slip, so I got to put this, and I got to do the towel around my neck 2 times, and then I got to do, all while hopped up on pills. Which, speaking of pills.
There's a lot of pills.
Yeah. So, there was a doctor that was, you know, the doctor, right? You needed to get uppers or downers. This was your guy. Damn, should we talk about the Jake the Snake thing? Well, it's out there, right? Here we talk about it.
I have the clip.
So, yeah, okay. So Jake the Snake talks about a certain doctor that
he never says a name.
No, he never says a name because you could still be liable if it's traced back to the this doctor did, you know. So, all right. Big tips.
All right.
Hard to get them?
Yeah, right.
Well, did they help you get them?
Yeah, no,
you had to get them on your own.
Say they helped me, but I will tell you this.
Okay, you said enough already.
What they would do is,
so weird.
We would get booked in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Good chocolate too.
Now, when somebody told me this story first, I'm like, this is an old wives' tale.
That's what I would
'Cause
think too.
shit like
Pause
that
it real
don't-
quick for
That it
the
was fake?
interruption, so that we don't get dinged for
Yeah.
doing commentary. So yeah, so if somebody were to say that, like, oh, by the way, there's a doctor, he'll get you whatever you want. You think they're full of shit, right? Like, no, that
Mhm.
doesn't happen. Like, you know how illegal that is? That's crazy. This is a
Yeah.
$1 million industry, and they're gonna risk, So yeah.
Really happen. You get to Allentown, Hershey. You go to the locker room, and all of a sudden somebody said, "Oh, they need to see you in locker room 3." What the fuck did I do? And I'd go in there, and there's this doctor there. And he's got suitcases over here, boxes here, suitcases here, boxes there. What do you need, kid? Excuse me? What do you need? Up, down, what?
Wow.
What do you get for me? Oh, Halcyon. Those are good. I'll take. How many can I
Holy
get?
shit.
As many as I want.
So Halcyon of all things,
Mm-hmm.
what do I yeah, how many can I get? As many as you fucking want. You mean this very powerful borderline narcotic? Yep.
Yeah. Let me see. I think there's it's like 10 seconds left.
300. Got him right here.
Wow.
Steroids. Yeah, absolutely. What do you got? I'll take that, and I'll take that, and I'll take that. It was grocery shopping.
So yeah, so we're not saying that this is the guy, but he when you look at the way that this individual traveled, this was definitely like in his territory.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the guy. Like, he would come in and he would just supply you in a way that was extremely irresponsible. It was illegal what he did. It was a federal crime.
Yeah, he went to jail for 10 years.
For 10 years.
But it was 10 years for 175 counts of illegally distributing prescription medication.
Yeah, he was responsible for, and it's out there, he was responsible for overdosing several people. 2 of them were well-known wrestlers. One of them was the sensational Sherry,
Mm-hmm.
Which she was actually a really big deal, but she did have a pill problem. She had a drug problem. She had a drug and alcohol issue. And supposedly she was clean. She would tell people that, that she wasn't back on the coke. She wasn't back on everything. The only type of pills that she takes now are legal drugs, like prescription pills, she says, but they're prescribed to me by a doctor. Okay, do you have the chart of how this guy prescribed things?
For Nancy and Chris, I do.
Yes. So an example.
I highlighted June because this was only June. That's when he killed them.
Allegedly. Look how insane that is.
Mm-hmm.
And look at all the shit that he was giving them.
Yeah.
Fucking
So,
Ambien.
June 5th, 120 Xanax. I think that's a lot of Xanax.
It's a lot of Xanax.
June 9th, 120 Lorcet. And then again, 10 days later, 120.
So look at this. So the medication report. So you had 120 prescribed, remaining quantity 0.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the date. Xanax, 120. How many were remaining? 81. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane. And then you look at this whole thing, the quantities, like, how the fuck? And you think, how has someone not overdosed and died with this kind of shit? Well, guess what? They did.
They did. But also, I mean, tolerance builds up. Like, that's, like it's known, obviously, that happens. And it's just, this is a lot. Like, it's a crazy amount.
Yeah, it takes more. So it takes more and more to get you high, but the levels of toxicity are the same. That's how people die. And they're like, well, fuck, like, I'm not even getting high from this anymore, so it's fine. It's like, no, your liver is working so damn hard right now to keep you from dying, because that's a toxin. And then eventually, it just overrides it and you fucking die.
See, so like here he went, so it's in the incident report and the police report, all that they pinged his cell phone going close to this guy's office, and that they weren't sure if he prescribed him something or not, but right here he did. He prescribed him 120 Lorcet, and when they found them on the 25th, there was only 85.
And you know, when you ever meet somebody that's struggling with heroin addiction, all that kind of shit, and they're like, "Man, do you have any hydrocodone? Do you have like any of this kind of shit?" You know, just the kind of shit. Yeah, just imagine a person like this, and then finding this doctor, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "You got the money? I'll give it to you." You know,
Yeah.
how many?
I read another thing that said that he gave out like more than 1 million uh prescriptions. I guess like that type, like it was a bunch of Xanax and stuff. Over 1 million of them.
That is insane. You know, and this guy was in operation since the 80s, right?
I think so. It's just that the thing is that he was in a rural part of Georgia. He was about, I think it said like 45 miles away from Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so it was not like a super populated area. So I guess maybe that's why,
Yeah, he was kind of like, that's why they chose him, is because it's like, what are you gonna do? They're gonna make money with your, here I have this, and that the amount of what's insane is that the amount of availability, I mean, that this guy had, you know, because those have to be, even if it's prescribed by a doctor, they have to be, or there's a system going on, right? And it takes that, but this guy just had them. You know, he was writing the prescriptions. He also had them on his person. He had suitcases, you know, filled with shit. Like, normally it would take, you know, how do you normally get a prescription? You go to a doctor, you get a prescription, you go to a pharmacy, right? And then, you know, you get your prescription filled. So people are talking about Sherry. She would go to this doctor and she would go in and come back with like a baggie just filled with pills. And they're like, he has them in there?
Yeah. Well, the thing also, like, if they didn't get them from him directly, he would give them blank prescription, like
pads,
little papers or whatever.
Which is a federal crime, by the way.
Yeah.
I knew a guy. I knew a guy back in my day. I knew a guy that went to prison, to federal prison, because he had prescription notepads. You know, and even being in possession of that is considered a felony. So yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
a lot of.
I'm just gonna give you a lot of crime. You know, this guy operated for a long time. Even to tell me that no law enforcement agency, no, you know, DEA, no one ever looked at this guy and be like, damn, you know, this guy, it took for him to kill several people for him to be like,
for him to get arrested.
Yeah, we got to look into this guy, you know.
What's also weird, so when you search up like the day that Chris Benoit died was June 24th, because they found him the 25th. This doctor is dead. He died in 2022. You know what day he died?
What day did he die?
June 24th.
Jeez. Also his friend.
Oh.
So Chris Benoit had a friend. He was in Canada, who was like one of his early tag team partners, and he was out of the game for a while. You know, he wanted to get back into it. Like, I'm going to get back into it. And Chris Benoit was like, I'll help you, you know. And so this person wanted to get back into shape, wanted to get big. You know, he's like, I want to get big. So then some of the people said that he hopped onto the Chris Benoit tab. Like, yeah, we'll just put it on my tab too. You know, just like, I'll get you some stuff. I just need your name and then your info, and I'll get you some stuff, some good Mexican supplements. I'll make you grow, you know. And this guy died also. Like, it was the same date too, right?
I think so. Or was it heart stuff? I don't know.
Well, okay. So they could also forcibly overdose you, you know. So that's another thing. But the fact that he died on the same day, and it's like, what is it with this? Do you think that it's almost like bragging, like, I'm gonna kill you, and you know we did it because they were the 24th gang. That's what we do.
That's their thing.
Yeah, that's like their signature. You gotta kill him. Oh, the guy's right here. Hey, what are you doing? It's the 23rd. You can't kill him today. You gotta wait till tomorrow. Wait till midnight.
It's weird, you know, like a lot of stuff, a lot of weird stuff, I guess, happen around like that day, the Wikipedia thing, the day after.
Oh shit, that's a big one too. So, okay, do you want to tell this story?
You can tell it.
You tell it.
Okay. Apparently somebody
No, you tell it. No, you tell it.
apparently someone updated Chris Benoit's Wikipedia page on the 25th or like the 24th in like the middle of the night, let's say, or whatever.
Yeah.
25th middle of the night. And updated it saying that his wife was dead. And then 14 hours later was when they found their bodies.
That's crazy. And they tracked this person down and they're like, this came from Connecticut.
Stamford, Connecticut.
Yep, right where the WWE is.
Mm-hmm.
And when they questioned this guy, he was like, it was just a coincidence. Like, I was like, that's a crazy coincidence.
Yeah, he said it was a rumor and that it was a terrible coincidence. Unfortunately, it was just, it would just happen to be true.
And it's like, where did you find this rumor? Like, who told you this rumor? I was like, I can't say. Like,
yeah, apparently it was like that it was on forums and there was people like in chat rooms saying it, but like, how would they know that?
Yeah, and like, who are these people? And he wouldn't give any names. Like, well, like, can you give me one username of somebody? Well, I can't do that. It's like, okay, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
the scuffle. There's a 911 call. It wasn't a 911. There is one, but there's a phone call that Chris Benoit. Do you have that?
The scuffle? No, I never found it.
Okay, so you know what? That's Chavo Guerrero said it, and then he released it, I think, and then I don't know what happened to that. So he had a phone call that was recorded, and
it was a voicemail, maybe
it was a voicemail, but he's talking and he's like, hey, and you hear ton ton ton, and this is, by the way, he still describes it to this day of what he heard. So he says that he opened it and all of a sudden he just hears and you hear like muffled, like aggressive talking, and then he's like, what the fuck? And then he chalked it up to Chris Benoit was like fucked up on pills and fell down, whatever it is, and he was trying to. So, but there's a call where, do you have that call where he's talking and he's like, hey, you're gonna be in the woods, and he's talking, right?
I have a voicemail that he left to someone named Parker.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He was like I think Parker was a promoter of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And he did something. I don't know what ended up happening, but Chris Benoit was like, hey, like trying to do damage control. But if you listen closly, it's weird.
Yeah, in the background.
Yep.
It's around like 21, 22 seconds or something. You want me to play the whole thing?
Yeah, might as well.
All right.
Benoit again. It's about 5 to 2 in the afternoon. So I'm bullshit with you, man. Find out what happened. I was talking to one of the production crew guys on the flight home into Atlanta. So you kind of got shafted over, and that really fucking sucks. But if there's anything I can do at all, man, please give me a call and let me know. And
okay. You got to replay it. That sounds like, now that I'm hearing it with like better like, audio, it sounds like someone's begging. Like it's
So right here, you're gonna hear him kind of like pause, and some people like in the comments are like, it sounds like if he's looking back at what's happening, behind him or like something like that, and he's kind of like pausing. He starts to panic, and then afterwards you can hear like the weird little like groans or whatever it is.
Sucks. But if there's anything I can do at all, man, please give me a call and let me know. And nothing changed the experience. Like, nothing could be better than experience, and you got that. It's like, I'm just talking to you right now. I don't know what the details are off the top of my head, but hope all's well with you, man. And just missed you the last couple of weeks. Wondering where you're at. I hope you're doing well. If you can, when you get the chance, give me a call. Take care, man. Hope all's well. Bye.
Yeah, that's a weird call because it sounds like he's talking, he's talking normal, and then you begin to hear like maybe something like you can't tell what's being said. It sounds kind of muffled too, but it sounds like somebody saying no.
Yeah, you can hear voices in the back.
Yeah, it sounds like a woman, then it sounds like a child. And then it does sound like somebody's voice is being turned away when they talk, when they're doing that. And then you begin to hear like, that's so yeah, man. And then he like starts speaking like faster,
And the way that he says please, someone pointed out also that he says please in a very like pleading type of way.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention to that. Like, do you have it? Let's see.
But, if there's anything I can do at all, man, please give me a call and let me know.
Yeah, and when he says that, you hear like the scuffle more, and people are saying like, well, it sounds like the TV's on, but it's like, what is he watching then? Just people being tortured, like, you know what I mean? Like people being another thing that was weird about that was the fact that, and it's kind of hard. So in this situation, it's hard for me to just also think about like his son, like how young his son was and what's going on. The fact that they found like a knife under the bed.
Yeah, they found a knife under the bed.
That was so bizarre.
And it looks it looks like a kid would put it under there. Like it wasn't deep under the bed. It was like right on the
edge.
It has like a bed skirt, and it was like right at the edge.
Yeah, do you think he had gotten a knife to like try to defend himself? Do you think he hid and he was scared, and then finally he did the little kid thing where he's like, I'm just gonna get in bed, put the sheets on over the head, maybe if I pretend to be sleeping, and it's so sad. And then they found Bibles like right next to each one of them, except for Chris Benoit, right?
Yeah.
So
a Bible next to the kid's head and a Bible next to her head.
So, which a lot of people are like, what do you think is going on there? And people are like, that fucking Kevin Sullivan, that satanic bastard. This was a ritual thing. But there's been cases where it's almost like ritualistic. There's been
a lot of cases people do that after they kill someone.
Yeah, and then they put the Bibles next to them. And a lot of that is through religious psychosis when they kill somebody, or in some of like for example, in places like Europe where things like Catholicism has a strong hold, and you go against the church or you're doing something and they send somebody to kill you, they'll purposely place religious I almost called it religious memorabilia, but like religious like relics or artifacts next to you so that people know like, damn, the Catholic Church killed him. It's so bizarre. Like this whole case is weird. And there's more normally when there's a conspiracy or there's a crime, like there's a murder and then there's conspiracy. It's also like one or two conspiracies that sounds stupid. But then there's a lot of information on the murder case. Well, this is what happened, Charlie. But in this case, there's very few of the murder, like what happened, information, and then there's a lot more like conspiracies that when you start to look into them, are like, holy shit! Like I never even thought of this. This makes sense. Like for example, this doctor. Nobody mentions this fucking doctor, like in the original report. Nobody knows who this guy is. And then turns out he's killed 2 wrestlers via overdose. He possibly was around, and being paid by Vince McMahon, to do all these things. There was also, I think, okay, who told this story? Psycho Sid, maybe. It was one of those old time wrestlers, how they were stopped at the border. At the Canadian border because they were carrying a lot of pills, and then Vince McMahon's like, I'll take care of it. And he went and he talked to the border patrol, and then it's like, oh, go on through and take your stuff. By the way, it's not like we're gonna confiscate these fucking hundreds of illegal pills. No, just take them with you.
Take them with you.
And they're talking about how like then you really see like the influence that Vince McMahon had, and it's like that is insane.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of we're out of time, but there's a lot of stuff with this case where you can look at it through many different, lenses, all these things. What could have happened? Any of these things, but there's a couple things that are undeniable. Like number one, the doctor, right?
Yeah.
The doctor, there's paperwork, there's a paper trail. Number two is to me, if there's enough people that are witnesses and they come forward and they talk, like, why would they fuck up the reputations by making shit up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's out there. This is Yeah. So when somebody tells me a story and they publicly tell it, and the same story is not exactly like rehearsed or the same, but it alludes to the same stuff. Like, to me, like, yeah, these people believe that they saw this. Doesn't may not mean that this is exactly what, but this is what they saw, and this is what they believe it was. So with Chris Benoit, being very paranoid and worried about his son and worried about what's going on, who's following us, the paranoia, and then he ends up murdered, or ends up dead. It's just like, okay. Also,
that's why a lot of people believe that he didn't do it, is because they were like, he would never do that, to his son.
Yeah,
like his own kids came out and were like, he would never do that. Like, I know he didn't do it.
Yeah, his kids, came out and they said that. Like, what the fuck, If you were a very violent alcoholic, and then somebody's like, so what happened? Oh, we believe that he got drunk and punched a kid and he accidentally knocked him. Like, you're what the hell is that serial killer's name? The Iceman? You know what I'm talking about? The Iceman?
I'm not sure.
He was a very famous hitman.
Oh, maybe that's why. I don't know.
So very, very famous. We should do a show on him. So this guy's father was a raging alcoholic, and he would beat the kids, and he was just a complete piece of shit. And he beat the Iceman's older brother when they were kids to death. Like, beat him to death. Hit him, he said, until he stopped moving. And then he proceeded to hit me, So when you have a history of that, and you're like, yeah, by the way, when you moved out, he had other kids, and this kid ended up dead. And they said that he beat him to death. And you're like, well, yeah, he was a very violent person. But then when you have kids that, they're your kids, and they're like, he would never do that. He would never become violent. He would never do this. Like, who else would know you better than the kids?
Yeah.
So, especially, he had a son that didn't live with him.
Both of them didn't live with him.
Yeah. So normally if they stayed with the mother, the mother would poison against it, and they were young too when this happened. Like, not young, like little kids. Well, he wasn't. He was a teenager.
He was like, I think he said he was like 14 when this happened.
Yeah, and if your mom poisoned,
the little girl was like 10, I think, something like that.
Yeah, but still, that's old enough to where if somebody poisoned you against your dad, like, he's a violent person, but they're like, no.
Yeah. Both of them came out and were like, he wouldn't do it. Like, yeah, I don't believe it.
Yeah, he would not. He would not do this, He was also not very, I'm gonna punish. He was more, I'm gonna punish myself. So he was angry enough at something because something got fucked up. People are like, he probably fucked something up and he took it out on his family. Like, he's the kind of person that he could spill the milk and then just take a deep breath, go up the stairs, and then hurl himself down the stairs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So also there was like a weird police report, where not a report. I think one of the cops said that when they were interviewing him that he put the crippler cross face on his son. It's like, no, this kid did not die. It was so his signature move was called the crippler cross face. And he got the name the Crippler when he fucking injured somebody in wrestling. The Crippler.
Yeah. His like neck or something, right?
Yeah. So one of the cops was like, yeah, he broke the kid. And this is what actually I heard when it first happened. That his wife was strangled and his son had a broken neck because he put him in the Crippler crossface. This is what the news was saying, because so the fact that somebody said this and then they're like, no, he didn't break the kid's neck. Like, this kid was, strangled.
Yeah, I mean, his throat was injured, but
his neck was not. His neck was not broken.
Yeah,
so it's just so weird. I feel like there was one more thing that I want. There's a lot, guys. Like, there's a lot more that we couldn't cover, but I wanted to do one more, but now I don't remember what it was.
Another conspiracy?
Yeah.
There's a WWE cover-up, demonic possession, mercy killing, life insurance.
Yeah. Okay. So the life insurance. So Chris Benoit, some people were talking about how they had, and these were people that were friends with with the wife and then him, and I guess that Nancy was giving money to Kevin Sullivan, like,
maybe, but Nancy's best friend talked about the whole life insurance thing and how they had been like fighting. I don't know if maybe she was giving money and he found out about that too, but they had been fighting because apparently the beneficiary to like everything was Martina Benoit.
Yeah, his first wife, right?
And she wanted him to change it and he said no.
Yeah.
which is
So,
weird, but
which is pretty weird. So, um, some people were saying that they got into like a gigantic fight because I guess that some things like in a bank account weren't adding up. And he's like, "What the hell's going on? Like, there's missing money. I need to." If you owe money to and I'm gonna take it back to this. If you owe money to somebody and you're like, "Fuck, I gotta pay these people," you begin to become like really aware of your finances. Like, "Fuck, I gotta figure out a way to pay." And if you start to notice, like, where the fuck is this money going? I wanted to at least have, you know, $300 to give them today just to make sure that they don't, prematurely end my account, close
yeah.
my account, you know. And I guess that, and this is allegedly, okay, that he got into a fight. They got into a fight because she was giving money to Kevin Sullivan. Like she was like wiring him money and and he was like, fuck, like when I die, when I die, she's gonna give him the money, he's gonna get a big chunk of this money.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing it. So that's the reason why he also opened up another account like under her name, and he was doing
Another bank account?
Yeah, another bank account, and he was like putting money in there to like into savings. A lot of people think that what that is like he knew that he wasn't going to he didn't have very long, which is why his paranoia was like, fuck, like here they come. So he's like, I need to get life insurance right now because and it wasn't
Also,
too long.
The crime scene when they were taking pictures, a lot of the stuff that was on his desk, there was a lot of like, call this person. The power of attorney papers were out. The real estate like stuff was out. It was a lot of very like like insurance, home, like that type of things that were out and being like looked at, or like had been recently, I guess, like pulled out, and they were still kind of like crooked on this. So like it's weird to be looking at that stuff and then you just die.
Yeah.
The stuff that like people are saying, are causing issues in your marriage, and then that's it.
and then you die. It's just it's so nuts like to think about, because this whole thing, such a crazy fucking conspiracy. We forgot our sponsors too.
Yep.
So this episode was brought to you by Loot by Lottie for all your witch needs. You need a box of witch shit, just go ahead and get it from Loot by Lottie. Promo code Nightmare and get 30% off. No, 15% off your orders over $30. I'm very tired. I'm gonna start seeing ghosts. Also brought to you by the Ghost Man himself, Sean Burris. And check out Groceries and Ghost on YouTube. Check out the Shadow Nation podcast. Remember, folks, I'm not getting older. I'm just getting better. On the wink. Also brought to you by Paranormal Unveiled, Static Voices, Paranormal Nate with his book, Erotic Stories to Download for your paranormal investigation needs.
Yeah, that's what you want to be doing when you're investigating.
Yeah, you just want to like, oh, I feel like somebody's, humping me and it's cold. Also a couple shout outs. So is that it? Is that for our sponsors? Oh, T Public. Go ahead and I forget my own stuff. Go ahead and buy my shit. There's shirts, there's hoodies. It's cold out. Get some hoodies at T Public. So it's all good stuff. Get a sticker. Put a sticker on a sticker. Put a sticker on a dead body. I'm kidding. So T Public. So a couple shout outs. So Render the Darkness. So on YouTube, go ahead, check them out, like and subscribe. Also, Dreamscape Chronicles, check them out too. On Spotify, they have really good shows. Also, to a friend of the show, The Main Event. For his Instagram, it's The Main Event 194. So check out his art. But for warning, it's pretty adult kind of stuff. So he's got great.
Not safe for work.
Yes, not safe for work. He's got some normal stuff, which is pretty cool, and then he's got some some
other
erotica.
things.
If he draws it for you on a piece of paper and you put that bad boy in your back pocket, let me tell you something, Daddy, you'll feel that back pocket get hot, boy. Anyway, so that's it. So thank you guys for joining us. Like and subscribe. Share us if you know somebody that has ever been choked. Send them this episode. So remember, guys, to always look both ways, especially if you find yourselves on Nightmare Road.